guys, what is up and welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Wright, Attorney, Trials and Tribulations. In the last episode, we freaking exorcised Dahlia Hawthorne from Maya's body, and we got Maya back to us safe and sound. I believe when she gets better, she's going to be returned as a witness to tell us the whole story from her perspective. So, yeah, I guess that's what's happening right now. It is very early in the morning, and that's why my voice is not at peak condition, but that is okay. It's fine. I'm trying to record this very, very quickly. So, yeah. Let's get going. February 10th, 3:36 p.m., District Court, Courtroom number 7. Now then, before we proceed any further, I'm going to announce the results of the test we had performed earlier. Tests? Yes, tests. On the bloody dagger that was found stuck in the pine tree. Oh, yeah, that. I totally forgot about it. That's the weapon that Maya Fey used when she fought with the victim. So what are the results? Was it the victim's blood, or... Due to time constraints, a full test wasn't possible. However, there's one thing we can say with certainty. The blood that was on this dagger was not the victim's blood. That is all. Now then, let's restart this trial. So it wasn't Misty's blood on the dagger. Then whose was it? I'm sure both the defense and the prosecution know this, but this trial is rapidly coming to a close. Both sides will need to show some firm evidence with their claims. I understand, Your Honor. From what I've heard, the witness is dangerously weak, physically speaking, so let's finish this quickly. Agreed. Very well. Please bring in the last witness. Witness, please tell us your name and profession. Maya Fey. My profession is, I'm the assistant manager at Wright & Co. offices. Maya. According to the magazine I have here, you're a spirit medium of the Quran channeling technique. I'm frightened. The Fey clan. I don't want any more to do with it. Oh, Maya. The pain the Fey bloodline causes must be unbearable. Very well. Now then, Miss Fey, when the event occurred, you were in the garden of the Inner Temple, and you witnessed the moment of Miss Celestinum's murder. Is this correct? I didn't see anything. Straighten up this moment, young lady. Huh? Pick your head up and speak clearly. There's always time for crying later. But Your mother was killed right in front of your eyes. There's nothing you can do to change that fact. But there's something you can do. You could finish this. You've been watching the whole thing, right? You've seen the witnesses come in and out, and you've seen us squeeze the truth out of them. Now it's your turn. Let's hear your testimony. On the night of the crime, what exactly did you see happen? Witness, if you please. Yes, Your Honor. Aww. And I feel really bad for her. Can't we just, give her a break? Come back tomorrow. I was passing through the garden on the way to a spare prep room when it happened. Suddenly, someone struck me over the head. I stumbled and ended up against the stone lantern. I think I screamed, "Help me!" Then something warm splashed over me. That's when I lost consciousness. So you were struck on the head. I suppose it must have been this staff. Maya, the person who hit you. It was Dahlia Hawthorne, wasn't it? I'm sorry, Nick. I couldn't see. I don't know who it was. Maya, think hard. Sorry, Nick, but I really couldn't. Ha! Can't say it was an especially good night for young ladies to be walking around alone. It seems that it will be hard to determine the criminal through testimony alone. Very well, Mr. Wright. Please begin your cross-examination. Maya, hang in there. She doesn't look well at all. Okay. Who else was on the inner temple side that night? Well, Sister Bikini, of course. But I remember her saying that Iris would be coming later as well. On the day after the incident, Edgeworth met Bikini at Hasakura Temple. That means she couldn't be the criminal. So then, did Iris actually come later like she said? Well, let me think. She seems confused. It's probably because she's so tired. No, I'm sure I didn't see her. She must have come while I was preparing for the training. Who did it? Who hit you? Well, I didn't see who it was. I was hit from behind. You didn't see the person? But after that, your attacker was in front of you. How could you not see who it was? Oh! Let me think for a sec. I'm sorry. I just can't remember. Maya's really having a hard time. What should I do? Come on, Maya, this isn't making sense. Why didn't you see this person? Well, let me think. It was, Oh, yeah, that's right! It was dark, that's it! It was dark? It's not good to have too much light around when someone is undergoing spiritual training. Come to think of it, there was earlier testimony to that effect as well. So it was dark in the garden on the night of the crime. Which is why she didn't see her attacker. I thought maybe she was trying to hide something, but I guess not. Judging by the testimony thus far, the identity of the attacker was most likely the spirit that was channeled by Elise Denim, Dahlia Hawthorne. Very well. Please continue with your testimony. What happened after you were struck on the head? What happened afterwards? My attacker was in front of me, blocking off my escape, I think. You think? After getting hit like that, I was in a state of panic. There were only two things rolling around in my mind at the time. Well now, this is beginning to get interesting. So what were the two things rolling around in your mind? My name is Maya Fey. 1 + 1 = 2. You see, for some crazy reason, I was afraid I was going to lose my memory. I know it's odd considering my life was in danger, but that's how it was. Maya, typical Maya. So what did you do then? You think you screamed, but you're not sure? Listen, I was a complete wreck. It was dark and I couldn't see my attacker. Was it a man? A woman? An adult? A child? I had no idea. I was scared out of my wits. Believe me, my dear, I'm certain I would have soiled my robes. I thought this person might attack me, so I... Anyway, I'm pretty sure I screamed. I thought that was my last hope. Wow, it sounds like poor little Maya really was out of her mind. But I wonder what she meant by last hope. What do? Do I press her for more details? Wait a minute, Maya. What's this my last hope stuff? What? What do you mean by your last hope? No, that's what you said. You said my last hope. Huh? What? I said what? Look, you were facing an attacker that you couldn't see and you screamed, right? You screamed, help me. Yeah. But you testified that you screamed that because you thought it was your last hope. Oh, well, you know, that's like what you do, what do you call it when it happens? Maya's not doing so well up there. Oh, yeah, Oh, that's right! I remember now. I was facing my attacker, but that's not who I was screaming at. What did you just say? Yeah, that's right. It was the person behind my attacker that I was yelling at. That's who I was screaming at for help. Ah! What is it now? Oh shit, wrong voice. What is it now? I messed up. I didn't mean to let that slip out. Huh? Witness, are you absolutely sure what you're saying? Behind the attacker, there was another person? Well, I meant to keep that part a secret. Huh? What have I done? Ha! It takes a ton of pressure to make a diamond. That's what I always say. a ton of pressure.
You're in a court of law here. You can't make things up or try to hide things in this chamber. Witness, the information you just presented is vital to the case. I want you to add it to your testimony.
I could see a man behind my attacker by the light of the
So there was a man standing behind your attacker?
Yeah.
That man, he's the killer. He stabbed her from behind. He's the one who killed Elise and him, otherwise known as Misty Faye, your mother.
The killer.
Maya, you know who killed your mother, don't you?
Well,
what is the meaning of this, Mr. Wright?
To be frank, Your Honor, I think she's in shock and quite confused. That's why she hasn't noticed the huge problem with her testimony. Huh? What do you mean? What problem?
Maya, on the night of the crime, that stone lantern was out of commission.
Huh? What?
It's true. There was no light anywhere in the garden that night.
No!
Order in the court! Mr. Godot, explain this! Add the pureness of milk to the perfect clear darkness of coffee. Stir. That is the state of the witness's mind right now. A cup of cafe au lait. Cafe au lait? Is that even illegal? Is that even legal? Mr. Trite's words are the milk and you are the spoon. Your Honor. I'm a spoon? I know Spoony Bard, I'll have you know. You must have noticed it too, Trite. This witness's mental state is highly unstable right now. It's not hard to understand why she would make a little mistake like that. Sorry, but that's not gonna cut it. What did you say? If there truly was no light in the garden, then there's a fatal contradiction in the witness's last bit of testimony.
Nick.
May I? Recall the witness's statement about her attacker. She said that she didn't know if it was a man or a woman, an adult or a child. And yet, the witness could describe a person that was standing behind her attacker, and she quite clearly described him as a man. In other words, that would have to mean that Maya actually saw our mystery person, despite it being so dark that she couldn't see the face of the attacker in front of her.
No!
Order! What in the world does this all mean, Mr. Wright? Are you saying Miss Faye saw the real killer under pitch-black conditions? Trite, do you have any idea what you're proposing? How could she have seen in the dark? There was no other light source at the scene. There are some things that you can only see in the dark, Mr. Godot. Maya, you did see who the killer was in the dark, and now you're trying to cover for him. Cover? For the man that killed her mother? There's only one conclusion that I can draw from this. You know who this man is.
Please, Nick. I don't know anything. Please, I'm begging you.
Ha! You talk a good game, Trite. Let's see if you can walk the walk. It was pitch black, so what could the witness see? I'm calling your bluff.
No, Nick, don't! Please, stop!
Maya's dead set on protecting this guy. The man who murdered Maya's long-lost mother. But I can't let him get away with it. I'm a lawyer, an officer of the court, and I'm here to find the truth. All right, Mr. Wright, time to show us what you've got. Who was this person that you say Miss Faye saw in the darkness? It was Gumshoe. There's no other... It was Maurice. I feel like there's, like, no proof to this. Whatever. Because it was pitch black, Miss Faye was able to recognize the killer easily. I'm sure the court would like to see for itself how this is possible, yes? What? But how do you propose to show us something like that? It's easy. We just need to recreate the conditions of that night. Conditions? Your Honor, the defense officially requests that all the lights in this courtroom be turned off. Well, this is... But it can't be! Ha!
There it is.
That was a nice bit of deduction. Trite. Well, everyone, this is the man Maya saw on the night of the murder. Order! Prosecutor Godot, what is the meaning of this? Surely you must be shocked to hear yourself accused of such a thing. Why aren't you denying it? Ha! Your Honor, you're asking the wrong person. What do you mean by that? If you got a question, ask the witness. That's one of my rules. Well, Maya, how about it? What you saw that night? Was it 3 glowing red lights? Well, witness, answer the question.
You're wrong. I never saw that.
Maya?
I thought the person that stabbed my mother was a man, for a totally different reason.
What? Witness, Mr. Wright, what the... Stop your chattering, Your Honor. Chattering? If it's worth asking, ask the witness. That's one of my rules. All right. Well then, let's continue with the testimony. Please tell us how you knew the killer was a man.
Yes, Your Honor. I didn't realize it until after I woke up, but... When I came to, I was just lying there on the training hall floor. By the time I got back to the garden, the place had totally changed. The torches were lit, and the body was gone. And all of the snow around the stone lantern had been carefully cleaned up, too. Since the person did all that work alone, I just assumed it was a man.
What? That doesn't make sense. So it was after the crime took place that the witness came to think the killer was a man?
Yes, that's right. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
No need to apologize. It's as Mr. Godot said, you're utterly exhausted. It's only natural that you would be a little confused. Also, if you consider the situation you described, it doesn't seem too much of a stretch to assume the criminal was a man. Mr. Wright, proceed with your cross-examination. Doesn't make so much sense to me, but okay. When I came to, I was just lying there on the training hall floor. By the time I got back to the garden, the place had totally changed. The torches were lit, and the body was gone. And all of the snow around the stone lantern had been carefully cleaned up, too. Since the person did all that work alone, I just assumed it was a man. Okay, let's... The torches were lit?
Yes, that's how I noticed that the whole scene had changed.
I'm gonna say it was the killer who lit the torches. I mean, who else could it be? The killer probably lit them since it'd be impossible to do any cover-up work in the dark. However, if that's true, there's one thing that still bothers me. Why did the killer go to the effort of moving the body? That's true. It's hard to see how that would be of any advantage to the killer. The only one who would gain anything from that would be... the only person that was at the inner temple, Maya. Very well, let me hear some more about the condition of the crime scene. So you're saying the killer cleaned up the snow? It did look really odd. The snow was removed in an unnatural-looking rectangular shape around the lantern.
There were a lot of shovels around the inner temple, but they're all really heavy, way too heavy for me to use.
An odd fellow indeed, this killer. Why on earth would anyone want to take snow away? Well, there's one thing I can think of. Didn't you say that a lot of the victim's blood sprayed onto the snow?
Yeah. The area had collapsed and ended up being splattered.
In other words, sorry, the killer's purpose was to hide the bloody snow. I think that's the most reasonable explanation. Perhaps. However, there's something that's bothering me. If the killer just wanted to hide the snow with blood on it, there was no need to remove that amount. That's true. He could have scooped up just the snow that was stained with blood. It looks like there are some mysteries behind this issue,
but I think this will help explain them.
So, you're saying that you never saw the killer, right?
Yeah.
But earlier you very clearly stated that you saw a man behind your attacker.
Nick, I'm sorry.
The killer certainly went through a lot of trouble. Moving the body by pendulum, manipulating the crime scene. But for what purpose? Why do all that? Maybe Maya knows more than she's letting on. Naturally, the killer must have done it, right?
Yes, I think so.
But why would the killer tamper with the crime scene like that? There must have been something that the killer desperately wanted to hide.
The truth is, when I saw the crime scene, I felt something.
You did?
Yes. I felt like the killer was hiding the evidence for me. For my sake.
What? Hiding it for you?
Everyone knew that I was the only one in the inner temple that night. If Sister Bikini had come back and looked at the garden...
She may have thought that you had done it. No, she definitely would have thought so. And you're saying that that's why the killer cleaned up the crime scene to make it look like nothing had happened?
Yes, I'm sure of it.
Well, that's certainly an important piece of information. I want you to add that to your testimony.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I think it was for my sake that the killer cleaned up the evidence of what happened. So then why did he leave the bloody writing? There we go. The body of Alista Nim was carried all the way to Hazakura Temple's courtyard. Then, at the garden, the real scene of the crime, the snow that we suspect was covered in blood was scooped up and removed. It's reasonable to believe that all this was done in an attempt to hide the true crime scene. However, there's still one matter that seems somewhat odd. Oh? And what would that be? You must have figured it out by now, Mr. Godot. It's the message written in blood on the lantern. It was written very clearly on the white stone lantern. Maya. If the killer was so motivated to protect Maya from suspicion, then why didn't he wipe the writing off the lantern? Oh! You're right! Order, Mr. Wright! Isn't it a fact that the killer was trying to cover up the crime scene? Indeed, but it doesn't make much sense to remove the body and remove the bloody snow, then not wipe off the most incriminating thing of all, the bloody writing. But if that's the case, do you have an explanation for the killer's mysterious behavior? Why would this killer move the body and remove all that snow, but then leave the bloody writing on the lantern? I don't know what the killer's plan was, but it's a fact that the killer left the writing on the lantern. There must be a reason for it. Well then, Mr. Wright, let's hear your opinion. Why did the killer leave the message written in blood on the lantern? Prosecutor Godot, earlier in this trial you gave me some good advice. Once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. Maybe you're not as dumb as I thought. The real killer wanted to disguise the fact that a crime occurred there. If that's the case, they wouldn't have left the bloody writing on the stone lantern on purpose. Therefore, it must mean that they didn't notice it.
But that doesn't make any sense. The torches were all lit and everything. There's no way any normal person would miss something as glaring as that.
You're right. There is no way any normal person would. What are you trying to say, Mr. Wright? There's only one person involved in this incident who could have missed seeing the bloody writing altogether. And who could that be? Who is the person that could fail to notice the bloody writing? Mr. Godot, this is what you said yesterday. My eyesight's pretty messed up. Even with these huge goggles on my head, I still can't see everything. You can't see everything? Is that correct, Mr. Godot? This lantern was submitted as evidence today. I would like the court to think back to the moment it was first presented. This lantern? There's something written on it. Why, it's written in blood. Nonsense. This lantern, it's as clean as a whistle. Mr. Godot, just admit it. There are certain colors you can't see, correct? You can't see red on a white background, can you? That's right. We went through this once before, during the poisoning case at Trebien. This is the apron that the delightful Miss Bird was wearing at the time, and somehow spilled coffee on. There's something still bothering me, Mr. Godot. Why have you not explained the bloodstain to the court? Bloodstain? What bloodstain would that be? Don't play games, prosecutor. The blood-colored stain that's smeared all over the apron. That's ridiculous. No one told me anything about a bloodstain. You could see the coffee on the white apron, but you couldn't see the ketchup, because it was red. Ha! It's strange. In a black and white photo, those letters would have appeared black to me. I wonder, why am I the only one that can't see them? So that, Mr. Godot, are you admitting it? Are you admitting that you couldn't see the red writing on the lantern? Hey, Gramps, didn't you know? That's the reason why I don't drink red tea. I wasn't sure about it until now, but I just can't believe it. Prosecutor Godot was the murderer, but there's no going back now. I finally figured out the truth. Mr. Godot, the defense at this time formally accuses you. You are the murderer of Miss Elise Denim, also known as Misty Fey. It's hard to believe this may be true, however. Once again, Mr. Wright has brought up a disquieting fact about you. I can't read that word. Just make sure you don't fill out the indictment in red ink, Gramps. Come on. How does a little graffiti make me into the killer? Besides, it's not like it's my name that's written there. I'm certain that the killer wasn't able to see the color red. This is rich. Do go on, Wright. The answer is right there at the crime scene. In the snow. The snow? How so? Well, for example, why did the killer move all that snow? Your Honor, you said it yourself. If they wanted to hide the bloody snow, why not just take out that area? Yes, why didn't they just take out that area? Oh, could it be? Yes, the killer couldn't see the red blood that had seeped into the snow, and so he had to remove all of the snow. He couldn't be sure of where the blood had landed, so he removed the whole area. Isn't it more likely that the killer couldn't see the blood because it was dark? Not a chance. The torches were all lit. They would have been able to see fine. It seems that once again this trial has taken an unexpected turn, to say the least. Can you explain this, Mr. Godot? Is it Maya? Wait just a minute. Maya? What is a witness? Mr. Godot, is it the killer? After all, he didn't even come to the inner temple until 2 days after the murder took place. He didn't show up until after that old bridge got fixed up. Maya, you can't testify to something like that. Why? What do you mean? I may not look it, but I'm... After the murder happened, you didn't even exist. She didn't... I'm afraid I don't follow. Are you senile, old man? We established this just a little while ago. After the murder, this witness was unconscious for a long time. Because she was channeling Dahlia Hawthorne. Oh, that's right. Please, Your Honor, let me add to my testimony. Nick, please listen to me. Maya, do you plan to cover for Godot no matter what the cost? If that's the case, then I've got no choice. Your Honor, let's hear her testimony. If it means we're gonna hear the whole truth, I say we should not silence her. Ha! Nicely done, Wright. Very well, let's hear the witness's testimony. Please tell us what happened at the inner temple after the murder. Yes, sir. After I woke up, I began channeling and my spirit left me, as it were. But that little girl was there at the inner temple, too. Pearlie was also stuck on the inner temple side that night. The next morning, she looked around, but she couldn't find anyone. The next day, when the bridge was finally fixed, she was in the spare prep room. That's when Mr. Godot arrived at the inner temple for the first time. He found Pearlie first and cheered her right up. Who is this Pearly?
That's my little cousin, Profay.
So when did you hear about this?
Oh, just a while ago, when I was in the medical office.
I'm terribly sorry, but what you heard from someone else is simply not admissible as testimony.
What? Come on. Pearly would never tell a lie. She's a way more honest person than I'll ever be.
Real smart, Maya. You always know the best things to say when you're under oath. Ha! The prosecution has no objection. We believe the witness. Mr. Godot! Let's just move on to the cross-examination, if the defense has no objections. This is highly unusual, but, well, Mr. Wright, let's get this cross-examination started. Alright, that is it for this episode. Roll the end card.
Objection! You haven't hit like and subscribe yet. Hold it! You forgot to ring the bell to get notified whenever I upload. Take that! Click here to watch more of my videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye!